Space, the final frontier. Well, okay, not really. All right, take two. Here in the Mitten State, welcome to Code 47, bringing you all things Star Trek, spanning the quadrants, the best thing since the neutral zone.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the triumphant return of Code 47 on the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network. This is episode 168. I say triumphant return because we were off for a month because I was on the Star Trek cruise. Peter was not, but we're hoping to change that. But our guest was also there and we got to meet for the first time and hang out a little bit. Sean Farrick from TrekCulture is back. Sean, hello.
Hello, and how are you? And you are so much taller than I thought you were.
Oh my God, I get that all the time. Yes, I know. Particularly Riker-esque, though. I can't get the time of day with Frakes. I never, on the cruise, I saw him once off the stage and tried to say hello, and he was running in the other direction. So I was like,
It was gas. I've managed to have a chat to like one or two people here or there, and they were so busy on this cruise. Like everyone was doing something seemingly all the time. Last year I was on it, and people seemed to have a little bit more gaps and stuff in between. This year they were like from the jump they were working through to the end.
Plug them down. I never saw John Billingsley, who we've had him on the show. I've done some PSAs with him. I talked to him about being on the cruise together. And, hey, man, I want to see you, blah, blah, blah. Never saw him. And then corresponded with him once. And he's semi-retired now because we had that chat in regards to Trek Talks and their upcoming thing. So that might be a part of it. But I told him, hey, I did karaoke with your coworker. And he's like, karaoke, the lowest form of communication. So he was obviously not fond of running one himself. But anyway, fantastic. April and I did our cruise chat last time, so I will not beleaguer the point by continuing to talk about it. But got a great show for you. We're back to talking about obviously Starfleet Academy. We're off by a few episodes because the finale did air, but we're not going to necessarily talk about things that happened in the two episodes that follow the ones that we are going to talk about. We're going to suspend time and space and things of that nature. And then we're starting a new segment, and Sean, glad to have you on this inaugurally. Being that we've talked every episode, we went through the Center Seat documentary by a friend of the show, Brian Volkweiss and the Nacelle Company, which was awesome. We're going to start doing listicles, which everybody loves, but I'm just kidding. Hopefully we'll find a way to make it fun. But we're going to take every series, and keeping in mind this would be series that have concluded. So we're not going to talk Strange New Worlds. We're not going to talk, obviously, Starfleet Academy, but we're going to do a fun, loosey-goosey, round-robin style 5 favorite and least favorite, and it's going to be completely subjective. We're, of course, going to start with Star Trek, the original series, in segment 2. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Let me get into the paying the bills part of it. Want to give some love to the wonderful people on our Secret Friends Unite Patreon squad over at patreon.com/Secret Friends Unite, where you do get exclusive programming, including the Bad Movie Show that my wife April and I do, the Facts Geek Life, where Peter and I are wrapping up that show talking about Ron Moore's Battlestar Galactica, which we adore. All of our shows come out early there, and you also have a couple of different fun benefits over on our Discord. This is the way it breaks down. Your first week is free. Sign up for free. Stay up to date with us. We'd love to have you just do that, if nothing else, just to get it rolling. Your first week is free, as I said. Your first month, half off, and then you stay on board for as little as $2 a month. So it's a ton of entertainment for only $2. We'd absolutely love to have you, even as a free member, just to say hello, etc. Patreon.com/Secret Friends Unite. We did talk about in the pre-roll, Sean mentioned, because he's the real master of everything, that there's not really any news to talk about. We're all a little bit like, because the show, the franchise itself is not currently filming anything, and everybody's all in a tizzy about that. But Sean has a thought. I see a finger raised.
So it's not okay. It's kind of news. It's that the year one show that we know Henry Alonso Myers and Keith Goldsman want to do once Strange New Worlds concludes. It's not so much news, but they have officially pitched it.
Oh, okay.
As opposed to hoping it happens. So there's no word. There's nothing like it. Paramount haven't replied. CBS haven't replied, but they have officially taken it to pitch. So there is a pitch there waiting for feedback. And I guess we're going to get an answer fairly either way yet soon, because the sets are sitting there either taking up real estate or waiting to be filmed on. So, so that is there will be something with that. So basically, it's an advance warning of there might be news within the next couple of weeks.
Okay. Well, that's at least something. We've certainly turned that over and over on this show. Gosh, it was a couple of years ago. We pitched our would be nice for the characters that hadn't been cast. We do know that Dr. McCoy and Sulu have been cast. Thomas Jane, who was he was a Punisher in a previous incarnation of that character. And then another actor whose name is escaping me is Sulu. But anyway, we won't belabor that so much. We definitely have had thoughts. Go back and listen to our show. But we will have even more thoughts if that does come to pass. So, all right, let's party. Let's get into talking about Starfleet Academy. We're talking episodes 7 and 8. And I'll just jump right on in. Episode 7 was called Cozine or Cozine. Cozine, right? I feel like they said it. Now everybody's not sure. Peter,
Schrodinger, Cozine. Everyone is correct.
Peter, judge's ruling? Don't know.
I don't remember.
You're shaking your head. All right. As cadets return home from their first school holiday, they must choose between their families, what their families expect of them, and their own dreams of the future, including an aspiring captain who's secretly willing to risk everything to rewrite her own past, an aristocratic cadet called to serve his planet way before he is ready. Sean, let's start with you. Talk to me about this episode.
So Cozine I really enjoyed, although it was one of, when we ranked the season, one of my lower ranked episodes, not because I didn't enjoy it, just the rest were all just slightly a bit better, I think.
Right.
Because I think this episode and, spoiler, the following episode, both suffer from they're a story of two halves, and I don't think either half gets maybe enough time. So you've got the Darum wedding story, and you've got Jaden there with him, which I think is interesting, but then there's things you don't get, like you don't get Darum's parents, for example.
Yeah, that's right. At all.
Which is kind of like, and it didn't feel like, oh, they didn't even show up to this. It felt more like we didn't have time to deal with that. And although I really like Jaden in this episode, I do think there was another case of, can people stop accusing Jaden of abandoning his family? Because like that's the second person to do it now. One was Caleb, one was Darum. Both were wrong, and both knew they were wrong. Because Darum at one point gets his back up and says, "Oh, I can't just walk away from my responsibilities like you do with your family." I'm like, what? Anyway. Now that's the negative out of the way first. George Hawkins is great in this episode. I think he's so much fun. So is Curry. I mean, everyone is great in this episode. We got some good comedy back on the Athena as well, because it's All Worlds Day. So you have Genesis and Caleb are just kind of, well, they're not stowing away. It's not going anywhere, but they've kind of hidden. Well, Caleb is supposed to be there. Genesis is kind of hidden. We get some good gags with Reno and an audio cameo from Laura Thuck. It was a fun episode. It was just a little bit of throwing everything at the wall, and I don't think there was an episode there. I think it was kind of like a couple of vignettes, which were maybe strung into a story.
It's kind of pieces. Kind of felt like a YouTube video here and there, strung them together a little bit. So
some shorts smashed.
Yeah, that's a solid point. Peter, your thoughts?
I kind of fall in the same camp with this one. The stuff on the Athena was interesting, but then when it got to a point of like, was it this episode or the other episode? No, it's this episode where Genesis is trying to get like her records,
right?
For some reason,
right? And they're creating an air of like, God, what did whose dog did she run
happened?
Over? Yeah,
and it's not entirely clear even at the end of what's going on here. I think maybe that gets revealed later, but not in this episode. And it felt like we were kind of trying to do like either an homage or a reference to like Kirk doing things that are against the rules, but it didn't feel like it was executed as well as it could have been. Because it was like she wanted to be sneaky about it and not let Caleb know, and it's like, but you're creating an isolinear chip at the captain's chair, like everyone can see you,
right?
So it was just the idea is interesting. I just didn't think the execution worked quite as well as they thought it did.
Yeah.
But the gags were hilarious. Like the warp snail was just That was obnoxious. Having to freeze the slime before it falls on Reno's head. That was hilarious.
Yeah.
And then like Thok like just freaking out about Reno's toe. It's like, you're gonna die. It's like, it's just a broken toe. It's fine. That was hilarious. The whole bit with Dareem on his home planet was a little odd for me. In the sense that it didn't quite make sense why they were just like, it was like, I need to take ruling now, and so we're just changing everything. And
right, it was convenient that it happened right at the time he was on school break,
it was like,
too.
It's school break, so we're going to kidnap you now. It's the ceremonial kidnapping.
Starfleet would have a problem with, but they also have ceremonial kidnappings on Orion, as we saw in Lower Decks.
Yeah, well, the ceremonial kidnapping isn't the problem here. It's more just like, it just appears.
Yeah,
and now it's a thing.
And they have the Iconian gateway. You can just have a thing on your belt.
Which, to be fair, like learning something about a culture just like suddenly for the sake of a plot convenience is something that Star Trek does all the time. So there's nothing wrong with this.
Right.
But it was like, we need to delve into Dareem's character and make him seem douchey in a different way. Like that just seems to be how we play this character. Like I'm not saying I dislike Dareem. I like him as a character, but like that seems to be a lot of how he gets used as like a douche punching bag a lot of the time.
Douche punching. Again, things I wish I could use for the name of this episode, but I feel like putting douche something would snag me on an algorithm somewhere. So I'm holding off.
But
I'm holding.
You might get a very new audience, but doesn't mean it wouldn't be a good audience.
Yeah.
Please don't Google douche Star Trek and
yeah.
Douche Trek.
So it was just one of those like and then it's like it's an arranged marriage, but he is basically fallen out of love with her, which is not that surprising since they haven't really clearly been in contact for years.
Right.
So it's another one of those tropes that's like, okay.
Well, it's like with the mess that Amok Time has become with Strange New Worlds and T'Pring. You know what I mean? It's just that couldn't be any messier. Yeah. You know what I mean?
This is in that same vein. And then it's like, and then he's able to stand down or whatever. But it felt like it was, that whole thing was tied up a little bit too neatly and kind of in a plot contrivancy way because they wanted this romance for Jaden and Dareem. Clearly that's something that they want to happen.
Right.
And so it's like you introduced this thing that we didn't exactly know much about and then made it happen and then forcibly resolved it very quickly so that we can go back to the academy with basically forgetting that this whole thing happened.
So it was no stakes in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, it ended up being no stakes. And again, you can do these things, but spoiler, this is also a criticism I have with the next episode, is when it comes to storytelling, the story has to be able to stand on its own, and you can't just like Deus Ex Machina things, or I'm going to rely on something that isn't in the story to make it work. Yeah. And that's what this feels like to a point. And again, it's not, I'm not going to say it's terrible. It's not, but there were just a lot of details that just didn't quite work, especially for that particular side of the story. The one on the Athena was fine. Yeah. But the one with Dareem was just very plot convenience.
It did seem, setting it up for the sake of setting it up. And it didn't create any stakes where you thought that it would go any other way other than, he's going to do this thing, but at the end of it, he's going to end up going back and then you'll never hear about it again. So it was very, very, kind of like a comic book. You know what I mean? Like, Spider-Man is going to fight Dr. Octopus and he has a nuclear reactor and he might blow up New York City, but then it's not going to happen.
Yeah. But even like if you kept it going for like an episode or two and like the queen is like, you can go back to school and blah, blah, blah. And then now you add another thing where you can be like, because this is how my friends would do it, right? You get back to the school and it'd be like, well, hello, your majesty. Did you get a B in your realm? Like, you could add the silliness to that, but we just...
Right. But again,
we threw that away. But you don't have to, but I think that could have been a little bit of a funny gag.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just my terrible sense of humor, but whatever.
I enjoyed Genesis and Ezra together. I keep calling him Ezra in my notes because he's, that's the character. He reminds me of Ezra Bridger from Rebels. All of my notes are, with the exception of a few characters here and there, have nicknames. So Darum is Dickhead. Karima is the Muse. And then Genesis is just Genesis. She's a Michigan native, by the way, which I always love to shout out. My buddy Kurt interviewed her because she's from Oakland County and that's where he lives. So I haven't been able to get her on our show though, but I'm trying. We're always trying. I enjoyed their interaction, and I feel like we saw the needle move for her. But yes, then again, we got the little plot sprinkles of, well, what did she do? Oh my God. And there were some stakes because she dinked around, and even though they got caught,
she did get in trouble. Yeah.
Yeah. Then Holly Hunter, which is the only way I refer to her character as, has them at the end. And, at the beginning, it's, Holly Hunter's like, you're really great. I'm going to put you on this accelerated program. And then she's like, well, I'll just quit. At the end of it, when she's caught, she's just like, I'll quit. And I know you're going to throw me out. She says, I'm not going to throw you out. That's not how it works. But, the program I was going to put you on, that's not going to happen because you showed me that you're not ready.
Yeah.
So,
and thankfully, that is a scene that does show consequences.
Right. And that's why
it doesn't happen very often in shows.
That's why I rated it. And maybe I rated it a little higher than I should have. But this was like an 8 out of 10 for me. I kind of shaved the points off, and maybe I should have shaved off more for the like super pointless Cosine plot line that was, without anything. So what about you guys, Sean? If this was an out of a 10 for you, where would you land?
It's around a 6 and a 7.
Okay.
It's like I
know this is not a thing anymore.
This episode, it was great. I think each of the stories, a little bit more fleshed out, could have been an episode in their own right.
Yeah,
sure.
So and then kind of by mashing them together, it kind of feels a little bit like, okay, there's your Darum and your Genesis episode done. Whereas like Jaden got all of episode 4, and rightly so.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I just feel, and it suffered a little bit from that. So my glass half falling it, hopefully this means that in season 2, we will get a dedicated Darum episode, a dedicated Genesis episode.
Right. Yeah. Take the time. I mean, if you have a 10 episodes, you've got, do we have 5 main characters of the cadets? Am I counting that correctly?
Caleb, Jaden, Darum, Genesis, Sam,
6
for sure, and then of course Karima, depending on where she's studying this week.
Right.
Well, we'll get to that.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So yeah, it would be tough to give every character their own kind of episode.
For sure.
But
in a 10, do you know, actually, sorry to just I have a question for you both.
Please.
Do you ever find yourself getting, not that the point isn't valid each time, do you ever get yourself tired of saying in a 10 episode season or because of the 10 episodes?
Yeah.
And it's like, it's still valid. It's a valid, but I'm just like, oh, how many?
But it finds its way into so many more conversations than it used to. But on the flip side of it, we do say, and now we're done covering legacy episodes. Well, it was a 26 episode season, so there's going to be some duffers. There's going to be some waste. And what was interesting is when we were talking about the center seat and we were getting closer to the end of it, and they had an episode that was just about Enterprise, there was a part, Sean, I'm sure you've seen it, the documentary. And if you haven't, I highly recommend it. The entire thing is on Nacelle's YouTube channel if you've never watched it. But one, big part of that, and it was the writers talking, I think it was probably Andre Boreamas, who we've had on the show. He says, we just couldn't get scripts done, or we couldn't come up with enough scripts. So we were scrambling just to have episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there a middle ground? Could we, I would love it if we could have 13 episode seasons, or, some streamers do that, but the economics of it.
I mean,
is,
anime
kind of
tends to be like 15, like 12 to 16. And so it's like, maybe do that.
And they did a bit of that with Discovery early on, I know for a fact. Because
yeah. And I think, was it one of the seasons? I think it was actually season 1. There was initially going to be one additional episode and they reduced it, or they added one. There was a change in the number. I do remember that. They
had a break. I think they might have done
8
and 8 or 8, 7 and 9 or something. But anyway, so yeah. Well, cool. Well, let's. Any final thoughts, gents? We all talked out. Peter, your rating. I'm sorry. Where do you land?
I would probably put this as a 6.5, 7, somewhere in there.
I was swinging a little high, so I would, and not that I want to pile on, but I can see where you guys are coming from with that. And I can't.
Well, I know that I tend to be the Debbie Downer, so like it's okay.
Yeah, and I agree with you that heading into this next episode, we have kind of some of the same issues. But anyway, episode 8 is The Life of the Stars. The visiting instructor arrives, and I'm going to try to be real generous talking about this guest character I'm not at all fond of. Arrives at the academy and uses an what? Uses an unorthodox method to help the cadets process the emotion of the recent drama. At the same time, a cadet faces an unexpected challenge that will alter the trajectory of her life forever.
It's only unorthodox if you haven't seen 13 other films with the same plot.
I don't know what you're talking about. Sean, how do you feel about this episode?
Okay, right. So, funnily enough, I have some similar kind of hang-ups about this one as the previous one. Again, it's an episode of two stories. Yeah. And I made this point. In my opinion, I think they made the A plot the wrong one. I think the far more powerful and impactful story is the Dr. Sam and Nala going back to Cask. I think
agreed.
So much where I think there was more story then. They got far less screen time. And then I think the everything with the play, Our Time, and Tarima's struggles, although I did enjoy a lot of it, I just think it went 70-30, and I think you could have inverted that. Or like that 2 episodes. So same point I had for the previous one. 2 episodes I think would have done this a bit more justice. This was we were saying something at the time. So I'm familiar with the play Our Time.
Our town. You can keep saying Our Time.
Right, not that familiar, am I? Yeah.
Is that a different play? I had to do some research because April started talking about it as we were watching, and she said, "Do you realize this has been featured in episodes of Cheers, My So-Called Life, which is a show from the early 90s that April adores, that Wilson Cruz was a cast member on. Growing Pains, which is an sitcom from the 80s, before all the people on it went nuts. And now we have it here, and it was in a movie, and April and I watched, there was a recent movie last night called Regretting You, which was a super sappy adaptation of a super sappy book that I actually enjoyed. I sometimes enjoy that kind of stuff. But it's been a play in every high school since 1939 is when it came out. In Princeton, New Jersey was the first time that play was performed. But anyway, back to you, Sean.
I am not familiar with this play at all. This is the first time I'd heard of it.
Wow.
Funny enough, Peter, I'd heard of it, but I knew very little about it. And then watching this episode, and that's really interesting, Charlie, what you said, because the fact that it's been in the curriculum for that long, because I was watching it going, wow, this relies on you knowing, or on knowing this play, or at least knowing that it is part of curriculum, that, people will learn this. And I thought,
yep.
This is the first time in a while that I went, this episode was written for a very specific geographical audience.
Because it's very American. Yeah, very American. Americana, as you were, yeah.
And I felt, that itself, not an issue. I there was enough in the episode to kind of all right, grand, I kind of get who the characters are, but it kind of felt like a little bit of that kind of ribs nudging going, Emily.
Yeah, you got that? You see that there? You see what I did there? Yeah.
And I was like, I presume Emily's great. I don't know, and that to me was a little bit right, I'm still enjoying the episode because I'm enjoying the performances, but it was a little bit of I think you were really, really, really relying on the audience to have experienced studying this play, as opposed to
that was kind of an issue with both, in different ways, with both plots in this episode. There was heavy reliance on exterior knowledge of something else.
Homework, which is of course what people gripe about any long-running anything.
I love homework, but I just
right.
If I don't know the assignment, I can't do it.
Right. I mean, alternately, too much homework is what is turning people away in droves from the MCU, because it's been around for now almost 20 years and there's that much worth of homework, you know what I mean? And for a guy like me, no problem. I've been a Marvel guy my whole life and have watched movies since the beginning. But for somebody who is just tuning in, it's the reason why Thunderbolts wasn't a success, because it was all based on homework, I think, was one of the biggest, even though it was... It was the superior film, I would say,
yeah.
in some ways, to Fantastic Four, which I was super psyched about and still loved. But I know I'm on a tangent now, so I will dial it back because I'm not going to break my own rules. But yeah, when you homework somebody up and try to make it appealing to the masses in a major, cinematographic outing, you're gonna run into issues. But I digress. Back to you.
It was so okay. So right now, that being said, it was this episode is no, that's a spoiler. Okay, I won't say that. Right, I'll say that.
Good. Thank you for understanding the assignment.
Yeah, no bother. I'm really, really, really confused and struggling, and I think a little bit unhappy with them arbitrarily deciding to drop Tarima from the War College and just make that decision for her. Oh, you're in the academy now. I'm like,
yeah.
And it's not treated as she does say in this, like, I wanted to go to the War College, and people are like, oh yeah. No, like, this is actually quite serious. Like, you just literally fully transferred her without her knowledge, or so that to me was frustrating. And the last,
agreed.
At the risk of making it sound like I don't like this character, I do like this character, but we said this in the ups and downs. As much as it was fun to see Mary Wiseman, and as much as it was fun to see Tilly, I don't think Tilly did anything Reno couldn't have.
Correct. Yeah.
Agreed. And to me, not loving Tilly and loving Tignataro.
And for this particular episode, it's also a fault for both plots. Again, I keep saying that, but like it's reliance on emotional investment in a certain character for something to work. And for Tilly, it's the assumption that we have emotional investment in Tilly for her presence to make sense. And then in the Doctors, I'll get to that when I talk about that. But like, there's also the same problem on the other side. So
I nothing first. I think I know exactly what you're referring to. Yeah, it is. Again, it's two episodes which once again kind of got mashed into one.
They needed more time for especially that side. Yeah.
And like, kind of on that theme, although like obviously, before the pilot we knew the Doctor was going to be in the show, so there was the whole is he a golem, is he the one that was in Living Witness, is he the original, he's the original Doctor, great. So at some point we're going to explore what's happened in 800 years, and we kind of get that. We do kind of get something in this one. And Robert Picardo is brilliant, as he always is.
Absolutely.
It was a surprise that that's what they went with. I get why, but it was like, okay.
Right. Okay. And it was, and it had and again, we kind of tagged it, really talking about dickheads through line with the royalty stuff. You jumped onto something that was so impactful at the time. We're talking about the episode, is it Real Life? I think season 3 of Voyager, where he creates a family for himself. It's very saccharine and stuff. And B'Elanna sits in and says, this is stupid. I'm going to reprogram it so it makes it real. And then that ends up being real consequences because the character who plays his daughter, sorry for the spoiler from 30 years ago, dies in an athletic competition, breaks her neck, something like that. And you never hear about it again. Because at the end of it, and again, I haven't watched the episode in a long time, he says, well, I've decided to compartmentalize her. He does something where he's like, yeah, I'm never going to run the program again. I've learned everything I need to learn. And then Janeway comes on and does the arm around the shoulder and says, well, you really haven't, because that's not, this is real life, because real life, you have to learn how to deal with stuff. I'm spitballing here. But we never hear about it again until now. So that's great for people who are diehards like the three of us and you're familiar with the material and it really makes sense. But to this new walking in the street audience with a show that skews younger in a lot of it because they're trying to create new fodder for the fan base to help the franchise grow. Maybe they've seen Voyager, maybe they haven't. Did they look at this and go, okay, I guess I get it, but I don't really feel it in the same way? I mean, what do you think?
That's kind of my criticism of it. Is similar to the previous episode. We just kind of pulled a plot element out of ostensibly nowhere. Now, if you go back and you watch the earlier episodes in Academy, there are hints at this, but they're very, very non-direct. And so, at least for me watching it, like when they made the references, like, okay, I can see that now that I'm looking back on it because I know the context. But in terms of like telling the story, especially for this episode, it comes out of nowhere. and it comes out of nowhere 3 minutes before the resolution. And so from my opinion of how you tell stories is you want these things to build organically and then come to a climax before resolution happens. And so with us having this reveal that the Doctor hasn't gotten over this for 1,000 years, granted it's a little less, but about that time. But he hasn't gotten over that, even though he has had access to psychological help and friends for that long.
He's a literal psychological database.
And he also knows a lot of these things.
Right.
But the fact that he hasn't gotten over it for that long, and it is clearly this deep traumatic wound that he has not dealt with, one seems odd to me, particularly for the Doctor, who is hyper vigilant and self-aware. So it just seems an odd choice that's what we're going to do. And then two, that we're bringing this up for the sole purpose that we can give Sam a childhood. I'm trying not to be too mean here. Like it didn't need to happen that way. You could have had the Doctor be like, sure, I'll let her have a childhood, and you didn't have the trauma. Because it's also the Doctor being able, like, he would enter into a family. He would do something like that because, one, he's the only one who could in this instance. And two, he loves that sort of thing. Like, he's a dork and he loves doing that sort of stuff. So, but the fact that we threw this trauma in there to prevent him from doing that so that we had some sort of like, catharsis, it was just like, it felt disingenuous. In a way, and I don't know. It for me, it didn't quite work with the character. I can see what they're doing. I see why they did it. I like the idea. I just don't think it works well with who the Doctor is and what we've seen of him, and just how you do story beats over time for this to like just come out of nowhere and then get
over a lot of time.
It just It didn't work for me. For some, I'm sure if it worked for you, fine, more power to you. It just, I don't think it worked.
I get what you mean. Like, again, this idea that he has this perfect memory, it's as real to him today as it was then, is really, really, really interesting. And also, oh my God, a challenge for the writing team as well. Like, it's a good challenge. But like,
how do you scale it? Yeah.
Like,
how do you scale that much time?
And I don't know, I mean, like, I don't want to brush off the idea of the Doctor losing a child. Oh my God. I mean,
no, and I'm not saying that either.
But at the same time, there's so much else the Doctor went through with his found family, with Voyager. And I know, so we were speaking to the great lads from Prodigy, and there was Academy was being written so early, some of Prodigy hadn't been written yet. So, we, the audience, got season 2 of Prodigy, a couple of years ago, whereas we now see Academy, but the creation of the two was happening kind of around the same time. But then we kind of got to go like, oh well, hang on, he spent all that time with the kids from the Protostar, and kind of he was a kind of at least a mentor figure there as well, quite happily so. So you now have this issue of, you've specifically said the memory is as real in the 32nd century as it was in the 25th or 24th. So it's like, so it just, for that to be the reason. Now, if you want to tell me that over 800 years, man's experienced trauma, of course he has. Like, he's everyone who knows and loves die generations and generations and generations. I think that might have been the better route to go. Like, rather than have it be one traumatic moment, arguably the first traumatic moment that the Doctor went through. I'm sure there's probably one before, but like one of the big ones.
Yeah, right.
But like the death of Janeway, probably something, the death of the entire crew of the Protostar, we assume.
And all the other people he's known in 500 plus years. Yeah.
But this, again, I'm trying not to be bad, but like there's one family he knew for 2 days.
Yeah. Right. It was a big deal because they were holograms. Oh God. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it could be a hologram thing. So yeah, there was a lot of unnecessary bit. Let's not forget about the quadratesticles, which I don't think we needed to hear about.
I mean, listen, in defense of quadratesticles,
You know, I'd name the episode that if I could too, but please carry on.
100%. Sorry.
Well, what's the defense, or was that just was that just your?
I just like defending quadritesticles.
Okay, very
it's
good.
Kind of my thing.
I was absolutely blown away because I saw this in a post. And I didn't believe it, but the voice of the Maker is an actor whose name I'm going to screw up. So somebody help me here. Sean, you say it.
Before.
Thank you very much. As a denizen of that part of the world, thank you very much. I didn't want to say the UK because one does not like to refer to Ireland as part of the UK. That's I remember that from 30 years ago when I was there. Yeah. But yes, that blew my mind that he's now part of Star Trek. He's a character. Yeah. Yes, he is, of course, the voice of the Maker who runs the geometrically shaped. I love it. I wrote that Cask is not only a beautiful geometric shape, but it gets this slicing guitar riff when you see it. It was awesome. Oh my God. So for all the reasons that you guys said, I wrote, if I was rating this episode for my least favorite modern era character, which is Tilly, it would be a flat 0. I'm sorry. I just can't stand her. I know. And that is, we don't need to get into, people love different characters for different reasons. And again, I'm also not super psyched about Sam as a character, but I got to like her a little bit better in this episode. But it's the Doctor story that did it for me in this one. And Sean, you really said it. It was a 70-30 that could have been an inversion and had 2 great episodes of it. But yeah, you're right. They do put so much weight on this one episode from 750 years prior in his own past that it's like really nothing bad happened to you in that time in between. That's kind of crazy. But
live through the burn. That wasn't traumatic.
Yeah, right. Good thing he wasn't on a ship.
70% Starfleet just blew up.
Yeah, he might have been on a ship during the burn and he had to float through space. I mean, that seems pretty traumatic. But yeah, watching all that happen, it seems a lot more traumatic. But this was the episode for me where Sam, even though we saw a lot of it in the first part of it, stops being such a caricature who is just kind of getting on my nerves and starts to feel like a real person with some real weight as the resolution where she alters herself and has to alter a program in order to survive to do the inner light kind of, 2 weeks becomes a lifetime kind of situation. I enjoyed that. So I rated this one. I'll probably dip my rating down. I'm probably a little bit more of a 6.5 or a 7 on this one as well, because the parts that I liked didn't really carry, like you said, the bits and pieces of it that just didn't really add up. So, Peter, I'll ping it over to you. Out of 10 for you?
This one's probably going to be a 6.5, like solid 6.5. Some of for reasons that I mentioned, and then some of the stuff around the play felt a little pretentious, especially with. Yes. To be fair, I did do theater, so this isn't just like
and had never heard of our town.
And it's like, the philosopher doesn't care. No, I did do theater, but. Like there was Tilly's whole introduction of like theater is politics, theater changed things. I was like, oh my gosh, this is definitely someone who is a theater kid who puts a lot of stock in what theater can do. And it's like, because like theater's politics, like no, politics is statecraft. There's a little difference here. It's not just theater. So it was just like there was a lot of. It felt to me, coming from the Midwest, right? It felt very Hollywood, going like, our thing is super great. And it's like, okay, maybe just chill just a little bit.
You're at a 9. We need you to
so that kind of like dropped it down a little bit for me. Was just like theater is the best way to get through feelings and get through all sorts of things because it solves all of our problems. Like that's a little reductive. So
it's like I'm sure there's many will be like, yeah, no, this is it. This is the way it's supposed to be. But there's maybe not all.
Yeah, that may be the way that you want it to be, but it just it just isn't. Sorry.
Not all things, all people. Sean, what about you? Are you in the same boat?
I think it's another sort of a. It's kind of, I'm going to say it's a 6. And I know it sounds harsh. It's not the quality of the episode. It's the breakup of the episode. And teasing us with stuff we want more of, while maybe delivering too much of stuff that could have been shortened. I will say, Zoe Steiner plays drunk well.
She does, yeah. That was actually pretty funny.
Good drunken, yeah. And that's what it's really like to be around a drunk person who really has feelings for you, but is super pissed at you and
I
doesn't really want to let on.
I did like Caleb's response to her when she came on to him, and he was like, "You're drunk. We're not doing this."
He did the Austin Powers, the no Vanessa.
Kind of, yeah. But I thought that was a good like thing to do with a male character in that instance, because it's not something that's done correctly very often.
Right.
So I think modeling that was a good call for what that's worth.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that wraps us up for talking about Starfleet Academy. We have we're wrapping up the series next week. Sean, we have your soul sister Ellie joining us if all the schedules work correctly to send us out. But yeah, still on a whole enjoying the hell out of the show, and definitely looking forward to talk about the finale in our next episode. But we segue in to a brand new segment. That's right. We've gone listicle. In segment 2. We're going to be taking, as I said at the top of the show, we're going to be taking every series and kind of giving our own spin on the episodes we like the most and the ones that we absolutely could have done without. So you always got to start at the start. That would be Star Trek, the original series. It is, if you've never watched the show, which seems insane, if you found this episode completely by random. Here in the United States, you can get it on Paramount Plus, available on video on demand across the universe, and of course, physical media. Sean, over in your part of the world, how is one able to watch Star Trek? Streaming, let's say, for example.
At this point, it's Paramount Plus. It was Netflix right up until New Year's of this year.
That's right, yeah.
But now it's Paramount Plus. I think Picard is still on Amazon Prime.
That's weird. So weird.
And Prodigy is
in the ether.
Either, you have to get the DVD or the Blu-rays, or I think you can purchase it digitally.
I did. That's the weirdest one, and I've talked about this in the past. I purchased what I think was the first half of season 1, and one day when I looked, all of it was there, including season 2. So I own all of it somehow magically. And I said I'm currently, I have TOS playing in the, so I've seen some of these recently. I have TOS playing in the background in my office when I'm working, but when it's done, because we talked to Aaron Walke, who is involved in Prodigy, who's a writer just recently, and I said, and we talked to Bonnie, the wonderful Bonnie Gordon before that, I said, I'm due a watch of the show. I've not sat down and watched the show since we talked about it. So, but sidebar. So, okay, this is what we're going to do. It's a top 5 and a bottom 5. My rules of engagement. We're going to go round robin. We'll start with our guest, of course. Crossover is okay. So if Sean gives an episode that's on my list, I'm going to jump in and say I love it too. We're going to keep it loose. We're gonna jump in, talk about it all together. And if you've got some alternates and want to throw them in, that's fine too. Because again, I always try to keep this show to a lean less than 90 minutes, and we're at less than half that right now. So we got lots of time. Mm-hmm. We got lots of time to do that. So all right, Sean, and again, not in any particular order. I don't think you don't have to count down from 5. You can just jump on in. So Sean, I'm going to throw it to you. What is the first of your selections? And I figured we'll go one good and then we'll jump into a bad one and we'll go back and forth. I think that makes the most sense. And again, we're trying this out for the first time, so rules may change, but for me, that seems like a good idea now. So what is your first selection for a great episode of Star Trek, the original series?
I'm going to keep it nice and simple and go all the way back to the beginning, The Cage.
Nice.
Ooh, okay, cool. So, yeah, what's your briefish rationale of how come?
So it is pure Star Trek. Like, it is pure Star Trek at its core. It like you have your mysterious alien, you have learning to understand each other, you have this alien character Spock who's just there. He's just part of the crew. There's no big hoo-ha about it. You have a captain who is very clearly struggling with the burden of command, but also doing his best to lead. You have, although, listen, I'm not going to say every bit has aged well. I just can't get used to a woman on the bridge.
No, boy.
You also have number 1 there as the executive officer in the very, very, very first episode,
and flying the ship,
right? Like today, that's like, well, of course, in 1964, that was radical. And kind of like it is sometimes hard to kind of go back and watch some of the original series and kind of not watch it from a 2026 lens, but then you kind of have to, like, in some respects, you kind of have to switch that off. Others, you don't. and there will be some in my other as well. But I just think overall, I think it's a movie. I will say that I understand why that series wasn't greenlit until 2022. And like I think Jeffrey Hunter as Pike is brilliant. I think this version of Spock is a really good introduction to Vulcans.
For sure.
I think the Telosians are an iconic design. And just, I mean, just absolutely, I think many people would recognize a Telosian without necessarily knowing they're from Star Trek. I just think it's one of those designs that's become part of pop culture. You have the scene, which is not great, which is the Orion slave girl and, the other two captains looking at Pike going, well,
leering.
Part of every captain's dreams, isn't it? I hear they like to be taken advantage of. I'm just going to take that out of the episode, put that straight in the bin somewhere. Did not need to be there.
In the bin.
And you've also got likable characters, like Piper is fun. Yeoman Colt. I mean, there are characters in this episode, which I really, really, really enjoyed. So I've rewatched it several times. I've rewatched the remastered and the non-remastered version. And it holds up. Yeah, it's clunky and it owes a lot to Forbidden Planet.
Yeah.
They skirt a very fine... We can't approve this pilot because of, plagiarism. So if you go back and do another pilot, then maybe we can discuss it. So overall, I am a big fan of The Cage, particularly Jeffrey Hunter. I do think he is fantastic.
I agree. Well, he was Jesus Christ. Was that before or after this? I think it was after.
I think it was after.
Yeah.
Jesus
and
Christ
then he died.
I think, because he only died in 1969.
Yeah, and didn't he? Two things I remember that is I think he died in a household accident, like he fell off a ladder, and his wife talked him out of staying with the franchise. I feel like.
So right, I'll go through this quickly because this story. So he goes and does The Cage, films it. Yeah, Cage doesn't get picked up. He's a movie star. Right. So when they come back and say, oh, we've been given the go ahead for another pilot. Yes, his wife, not consulting him, says, Jeff won't be doing that. Jeff is off doing movies. Your show failed. And I can sort of see where that mindset would come from. I can sort of see it. If you've got movie offers coming in, particularly, this is the 1960s, things are done very, very different then. TV was not prestige, it wasn't seen in that respect. So, but unfortunately, and this is where I go on my tangent, unfortunately, that decision meant, yes, he went back to films, and it was on the set of one of those films, there was an accident with a squib that was meant to, simulating gunfire, because he did a lot of westerns and everything, and a window that was supposed to explode outward exploded inward instead, which contributed to a brain injury. Yep. This brain injury was, again, all of this, I'm sorry, we're 60 years later on, I was not standing there at the time, so there's a bit of conjecture here, I must say that, but that contributed to the aneurysms and strokes that eventually led to his death. What I will also say is that his son has said that while all of that is the case, his dad's drinking did also contribute to his early death. So there was a lot of factors.
Wow.
So, sometimes I say, well, if he was on the set of Star Trek, maybe he wouldn't have been in the accident, but then because there was other factors as well.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, the TV schedule may have kept him, may have caused some struggle with that too.
There's no way to know. My goodness, I would
know. Yeah.
This is a whole chunk I didn't know. All right, The Cage. Peter, what is your first selection?
I'm going to be probably very obvious on this one, and I'm going to pick Space Seed.
As is one of mine. Yes.
Yeah, so I went with Space Seed because, obviously it's the introduction of one of the best villains of Star Trek. But also like the pacing of the episode is really good, and like we get the introduction of Khan, and then over time we learn who he is, and then we're like, well, maybe he's reformed, maybe he's just bad because he was in that time and in that place and all of that, and then we have Marlon McIvers, who's like falling in love with him and all of that. And then we slowly start to see the megalomania and like all that. And then there's the takeover of the ship and all that. So I think that the pacing is really well done. I think that Khan as a character is really well written, especially as a one-off, who is so well written that they then bring him back for Star Trek 2. So there's also some really, really good stuff with the crew, with how they react to the situation, and what they're able to do. So there's a lot of reasons why this episode is just, and it's like, it's rewatchable. That was one of my criteria for going through these, is like, these are episodes that I rewatch. Yeah, there's just a lot of great things here, and Ricardo Montalban does a fantastic job.
Yeah, that was my biggest note, and I love the evolution of the character. Like you said, he was so impressive over the years that we brought him back. Nick Meyer brought him back in Star Trek 2, changed him from a confident megalomaniac, hey, I'm going to take over the universe, to, well, I just want to murder this man who was responsible for everything that's gone wrong in my life, and the death,
mostly insane, megalomaniacal warlord.
Yeah, exactly. So it was, pretty incredible stuff, and something that, again, I think I had it on just recently when we talked the Khan audio drama. I popped this movie, I watched this, and then Star Trek 2 back to back, and got to be absorbed in it all over again. So yeah, good stuff. Well, I'm going to pick the most boring and obvious choice, and that would be The City on the Edge of Forever from season 1. How do you, Harlan Ellison, for however else you want to slice it, for him as a creative, wrote one of the, most or more memorable, I think, early stories that we got. The whole first season of the original Star Trek is just incredible. 29 episodes, running the emotional gauntlet between pretty damn silly to stories so iconic. They'll be watching them 60 years from now, and still finding kind of new meaning in this. But this was your first occasion where there was no easy way out. Kirk had to take the hit and do the thing that really broke his own heart, which was the first time that we saw this, much like in Star Trek 3, which will always still be my favorite Star Trek film. He played his usual Kirk gambit of, I'm going to fake my way out of some bullshit, and it didn't work, and his son died. Where in this, he's like, this is the first woman that I've loved in a long time, or this is my one great love, or however it is. But for Spock to say, Jim, Edith Keeler must die. And he had to stop and then just listen to Bones say, Jim, do you know what you've done? I could have saved her. And Spock just, he knows, Doctor. He knows. Just, and just watching just the fucking emotion. Absolutely incredible. Yeah. I thought it was some of the better performances of the entirety of the series.
There is a reason that it's up at the top for pretty much most every list.
Yeah.
So
yeah. All right. Well, we're going to move on. Did we hit on any shared ones there? Space Seed was shared. Sean, did you have any shared?
Space Seed. So I deliberately didn't pick The City because it's like one of us was going to.
Right.
Same.
Very good. I appreciate that.
I've really done the same for Space Seed because I was kind of, but then I had it like I swapped out another one. It's like, no, Space Seed is a better episode.
That's all right. So yeah, we don't explicitly have to keep track of how many, but let's get into the worst of the worst. And I feel like some of these will definitely be the same, but we'll have some fun with it. But Sean, you're first.
I am going to go one which I know is going to be controversial. The Enemy Within.
Ooh.
Okay.
So I'm Captain Kirk.
So and it's an iconic episode, right? Everyone knows, the turn on the transporter pad, the dog in the costume.
Oh, that poor dog.
No, my big problem with The Enemy Within is the closing lines where Spock makes a joke about Rand getting sexually assaulted. And it's just, what were you doing? It's Richard Matheson wrote this episode. So, great sci-fi horror author. But just that final, but he did have some interesting traits. Wouldn't you agree, Yeoman? Yeah, the man sexually assaulted her. Like, what are you doing, Spock? And for me, it just, like, it's, you have this episode that could, I realize it's 1966, so it wasn't going to do a good job of dealing with the impact of sexual assault on people. But like, even then it seemed very unusual to sort of make a crack about it. And
Right.
so
That's a good
in
point.
Grace Lee Whitney's autobiography, she speaks about it, and she said at the time she was very confused and angry about that line. So it's not like this is
Rightly
me
so,
sitting
yeah.
here in 2026 thinking, oh, this is something that hasn't aged well. It's like, no, it was bad at the time.
Right. It is. And I didn't consider it in that context. So yeah, no, thanks for talking about it. That's a very, very good point. Well, I mean, and that one wasn't a favorite of mine. Although I did see some good in it, absolutely apart from that, where Spock is talking about, hey, we need two halves of ourselves and to split them in two. It's a very sci-fi-ish, horror concept that I think parts of it are done well. But yeah, God, I didn't think about that at all, especially considering Grace Lee Whitney's autobiography, which I do have on my shelf and now feel more strongly motivated to finally pick up and read.
Oh, it's a brilliant book. It really is. And yeah, I mean, like, you know, it is an episode that has some really good stuff in it. Like it is. I think in almost every episode of Star Trek, there is at least something
Yeah.
that you can go, nope, I can take that in isolation and say that is good. And there is, you know, the two halves of ourselves, I think, is a good exploration of, you know, we need the bad with the good to make the whole. That is good. I do enjoy that, and I can see the gag of having the dog in the costume. Like, I was like, that's just, come on, that's iconic as well. Yeah. But it's just, unfortunately, it's one of those ones where it's just tainted by the script, and then what we subsequently learn, what, you know, happens to Grace Lee Whitney afterwards. And I think it's just like, no, for me, it's a stinker.
Yeah. Yep. I hear you. Woo. Peter.
Okay. I'll save my controversial one for a little later since we just did that one.
Okay. Too much controversy.
So I'm going to go with low-hanging fruit, Cat's Paw.
Oh, no, not Chekhov in the Beetle wig, David Jones.
That was the least offensive part of the episode.
So true.
So there's just so much in this that's just bad. Like it's.
And we talked about it last Halloween on this show. That was our standout episode.
Yeah.
That we highlighted because it was the only Halloween focused
like it's very clearly like we're trying to make a horror-y, Halloween-y type episode.
Captain Kirk.
And it's just
go back. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. And we get the three witches from Macbeth, and like there's lots of different tropes, but it's just. And I'm the first one to say I enjoy the camp in TOS. I really do. I love the camp. But holy buckets, this one is just like, what are you doing? Like it's just it's attempting to be scary and horrific. It's just not. There's an attempt with like Korob to be like, oh, and here's Jules and we're gonna send you home. And it's like, oh, that has no value to us anymore. And it's like,
right.
Did you not do any? Like, you clearly had access to their computer systems, but no.
They read the Cliff Notes.
And we do get one good thing in here is we do get one of the things that I like to point out where Kirk weaponizes his charm. He's not Zap Brannigan. He's weaponizing his charm to try to get out of this situation.
Right.
So that is a good element of the episode, I guess.
Sort of. Not shouldn't be, but yeah.
He knows that it works, and he knows that she's just like whatever. So
yeah.
But other than that, like the fact that is the solution is kind of like, okay, why? The special effects were interesting for the time with the giant cat, but they're kind of dumb. And like even in the remastered, they're a little rough.
Yeah, they don't really help it too much. Yeah,
and a lot of the stuff is like, this is clearly like we've clearly pulled this set from some other like Pit in the Pendulum or something, and just kind of like a very, very clean dungeon.
Yeah,
Dollar General skeletons. Like
high school science.
Yeah. Well, not even that. Like they're clearly plastic. So, and then the story is just kind of lame. And then the ultimate thing is like we kind of wore them out and then broke the crystal, and now they're just little critters dying on the ground and
melting.
Oh, how sad! But like they sucked, but sad, and it's just
hashtag sad.
It's just not. It's not. Like, is it the worst episode ever made? No, but like,
we'll get there.
But every time it comes on, I'm just like, oh,
you gotta be kidding me.
It's like, settle in, here we go.
Yeah,
oh
it's
my
just
God.
like there's funny bits in it, and there's parts that I enjoy, but overall, it's just like, no.
Maybe we'll find a chance in a future episode to continue to drag on Cannonball. But for now, you thought that was low hanging fruit. Charlie always goes lower because I'm going to go with Spock's Brain, the season premiere of season 3. I said that, and again, I did my notes as
too.
I did it as, and well, then we can tag team it together. I had it as the why here is almost unnecessary to expand upon. There's just nothing here. You know what I mean? We're beginning the 3rd season. It's very beleaguered. They're in the Friday night death slot. Everybody's trying to kill the show. They're like, let's just pile some more on your plate.
Let's open with a banger.
Yeah.
Because a banger is what you call a rundown car over here.
Yeah. Exactly. And driving into the Irish Sea like the DeLorean that we were talking about in the pre-roll. But you got a society of kind of functional idiots that need Spock's literal brain to run their society. And so somehow they take it, but then McCoy can put a Jahoob on top of his head to walk him they treat him like an RC car. I mean, tell me what's going on in the writer's room for this episode.
LSD. I don't know.
Nights of, takeaway cartons of food and like
really crappy coffee.
Yeah, we're here. Yeah, what are we going to do? We're not making it because they didn't seem to. I mean, they canceled shows mid-season even back then, but somehow they managed to squeeze out the 24 episodes that made up the season, which is shocking. So I said it was really fitting that this was the first aired, at least, though I'm sure not produced.
It was not.
But it's the death roll. It's like you started it out with a banger, instead of kicking off a concert with the number one song, you picked the B-side of your last single that absolutely nobody bought. So that's Spock's Brain.
It does have there is one good memeable line though. His brain is gone. Like that's like the one good part of the episode.
Yeah,
and then the mildly amusing bit where he's putting his brain back together and it's like, I have forgotten everything. Don't worry, doctor, I can talk you through it. It's just like your brain's half connected.
Yeah, right.
Brain. What is brain?
Yeah. That's the one.
Brain
it's a society of functional idiots. All right, let's get back to the good stuff. Sean, what's another selection from your list of good episodes?
I am going to continue a trend and go where no man has gone before.
2-second pilot. I love it.
It is, and Joe, I having rewatched them both recently, it is the stronger of the two pilots. It is.
Oh, sure.
And like, it's less cerebral than The Cage, but it's not devoid of, any kind of thought-provoking thing. I just think they got the balance a bit better.
Yeah.
And seeing, this feels like sacrilege to say, seeing Hunter play Pike and then Shatner play Kirk is the more attractive character. Now, you then had more episodes of the original series to love, hate, whatever about Kirk going forward. But if you just look at these two episodes back to back, I totally get it. You have a much more coldly logical Spock in this one. So they obviously retool him a little bit. Gary Lockwood is wonderfully demented as he's Gary
Mitchell.
Gary Mitchell.
Thank you. I had Gary 7 in my head. Right, yeah. Sorry,
no, that's different. Yeah, right. That's assignment.
Just one of those two.
Yeah. And Elizabeth Daner as well. So it is a great episode. Again, another cast, which is just fantastic. And we continue our Rolodex of doctors. We had Boyce in The Cage and Piper here in Where No Man Has. Both, great in their own right.
Great old guys. Yeah, absolutely. Old white men. Very good.
And like, you know, for all of the guys, you know, the uniforms look a bit different. James R. Kirk on the thing, it's actually pretty damn close to what Star Trek would kind of stay as then for the seasons as they go on. You know, I think all of the ingredients were there in the cage, and they mixed them a bit better here in Where No Man. And you know, you've got some absolutely iconic imagery. You know, those backdrops, the Station Delta Vega that they go to. I mean, that is an image that has, you know, been around sci-fi ever since. And just, you know, the whole, and again, right, episode 1, kind of, it's like, how big is our galaxy, or how fast is the Enterprise? It's part of the fun of the original series, is like, Kirk's Enterprise nipped out the galaxy whenever, every second Tuesday, really. You know, Voyager would never have had an issue if it was back in the 23rd century.
We'll be home in 5 minutes.
Exactly, yeah. And they do it again in the Final Frontier. It's a lot of fun as an episode. It ticks along nicely, introduces 3D chess. And yeah,
hilariously so, yeah.
Right. I love as well just the simple thing of, like, you know, why is Spock's uniform so loose in him? It's like, because they got a big massive zipper, so they didn't mix his makeup. There's a whole
biggest zip.
They have this big massive clip then on his shoulder.
Yeah, the giant buttons, yeah.
Right, yeah. And Gene Roddenberry was like, no zippers in the future. Well, no zippers, asterisks. You know,
after this one, so we'll make them smaller and a little bit more hidden.
100%. Awesome. Great fun episode. I do 2 thumbs up from me.
Mm.
Yeah. Cool. Very good, Peter.
To continue a trend with this is the most obvious.
Yes,
the trouble with tribbles.
What you do?
It kind of has to be there. So I didn't put City on the Edge of Forever because I knew that one was going to get cut, but I was like, I have to put Trouble with Tribbles on here because this one, this was, I think, my first TOS episode that I ever saw.
I was going to say a quick sidebar. Mine was what Sean just talked about. I remember seeing that when I was 5 or 6 on WKBD, which is a station in Detroit. So yeah.
So, but like this is a good starting point for kids anyway because it's a very goofy episode.
Yeah,
It encapsulates the humor of the original series very, very well. It does have some serious parts. It does have some like political machinations between the Klingons and the Federation and spies and all that, which is fun and well done. And then you get the fun bit with the Tribbles freaking out about Klingons and the spy reveal and all that. But it's like that is organically grown in the plot, so it works.
Right.
But like it's just a fun episode. There's all sorts of just goofy gags, just funny stuff. Like the argument in the bar is hysterical. Especially one of my favorite things as a kid was when like Scotty's now drink, you drink, and he switches and then Chekhov is like, what is this? Like it's like there's just so many goofy parts. Cyrano Jones is just a turd and he's just hilarious. Like he's not a good person, so he's just there. But then his punishment of like pick up every single Tribble on K7, you're just like, oh no,
oh no.
And then the final bit is like, well, how do we get the Tribbles off the Enterprise? We beam the whole kit and caboodle into the engineering section of the Klingon.
No Tribble at all.
It's like, and then
even I joined in with the ridiculously forced laugh. Everybody's like, well,
it's the classic like TOS thing of like we have to end with a gag.
Yeah.
Like not every single episode, but most of them do.
Right.
And I think this was one of their better ones. But like the whole thing, like the cold open, you start and it's like, oh, we're super serious. It's red alert. Oh no, this is going to be a really super serious episode. And it's one of the goofiest in the entire show.
Oh my God.
So it's just,
absolutely
this is a really, really hilarious episode. And we know it's iconic because these images show up everywhere. Everyone knows Kirk in a pile of Tribbles. Everyone knows these multiplying fuzzballs of just chaos.
Yeah,
and
everywhere.
Like you ask,
and there's some behind Sean.
Yeah,
Sean, those weren't there when you started.
Oh no, we're dead.
And there'll be more by the time we finish this as well.
Yeah, by the time the episode is over, you're just going to see eyeballs.
Oh my gosh!
So
we're recording in the Tribble studio.
Yeah, but like it's just a classic episode, and it's very iconic for good reason. And like there is a reason that it was like revisited at Deep Space Nine.
Yeah,
right. And the animated
series, and
talk about as well.
And it's revisited in so many other shows and media that reference Star Trek.
Right.
So it is just so iconic. I can't leave it out. Like,
Yeah.
and I rewatch it all the time, and it's often how I introduce people to Star Trek. They're like, do you want something silly? Let's watch The Trouble with Triples.
Yeah.
I love how
that's too
sassy
fun.
Kirk is in it as
Oh,
well.
yeah.
He is so done with the station.
Mr. Barris, I'll hold you in irons if you don't shut up.
Yeah. I was unaware that 5 Klingons constitute a swarm.
So it's to the swarm.
I have guards around the grain. I have guards around the Klingons.
Around the triples.
It's just, like, he is just so sarcastic in this episode.
And he gets away with it. He is.
Amazing.
He's got the greatest case of senioritis.
Barris is such a douche.
Oh my gosh! And that same guy, he shows up in
well. Like everyone,
he shows up in PS9. He's the flute guy.
Yeah, he plays
Remember that in the
Bajoran,
episode? Yeah, he's a Bajoran. All right, I've got a really wacky one. And I skipped ahead a little bit because I have a couple of obvious ones, but this is a personal favorite for personal reasons. Season 3's Spectre of the Gun, which was the because I have a grade school love of the American West. Like it was and not even just Westerns, but it's like we had certain like segments of like you would listen to a book on a tape and take notes on it of Western stuff. And then there's of course the Oregon Trail, which I loved and other things like that. But
too much dysentery in the Oregon Trail for me.
Too much dysentery on the Oregon Trail. I just loved how they took the grave like budget shortfalls that were obviously a very big part of season 3, like in the Enterprise incident with now the Romulans have Klingon ships, but the inside of their ship looks like our ship, but they changed the light bulbs and stuff. You know what I mean? So it's like trying to make love out of nothing at all, as the song goes. But they took that and made it a part of the story. This box says, all right, we're in a Western town, which wasn't even like they went to Old Tucson or any kind of like Universal backlot. They just took their regular stages and they hung, here's a wall hung here. Here's a water barrel over here. And Spock says, well, they've only partially reconstructed. And Kirk goes, well, maybe that's all they think they need for our death sentence, because they're killing us with this memory they plucked out of my own. Because Kirk loved the American ancient West, as they call it in TNG, which is funny because they did another Western episode then, and they actually went to the Universal backlot or wherever it was that they shot that it was like kind of the real deal. But I love that. And again, the story is, well, kind of reminds you of the Royale from TNG, where we're stuck somewhere. We can't, there's no way to get out unless we, and put ourselves, solve the puzzle. Exactly. And in the end of it, they do it with a mind meld, which becomes the least taboo thing ever is the mind meld as time goes by. Remember when it was introduced, it was like, well, and even in Enterprise, well, it's not really a thing we do with outsiders. And Spock's like, yeah, fuck it, I'll do it. Let's go. Doot, goes down the line and puts everybody in a trance. And then Kirk still gets the chance to do a jumping kick to knock the one guy down. And it's just, and there's, big punch up at the end. So it's dumb. I love it, but I love that they took the aspects of what was happening in the real production and still find a way to make a story that I really enjoyed. So
yeah, that's fair.
That's one for me. All right. Dipping back into the wish they wouldn't segment. Sean, what's one that you could just spend like, yeah, it would be really great if we didn't do that episode?
Shore Leave.
Fair.
Yeah, it's
very fair.
It's the Irishman in me.
Yeah.
Finnegan
can go dive off the Vasquez rocks. Like there's bits of it which are fun, obviously, but yeah, it's just as an episode. That's maybe the worst as I mean. It's a meh of an episode. Like the White Rabbit, fun, but Sulu loves guns. Nope, we're not going to touch that storyline again. Okie dokie. And it's just kind of, it is very much, it's a Mad Libs of an episode.
Yeah, it kind of is, yeah.
And a bunch of stuff happens. So it's largely inoffensive. Again, C.R.E. Finnegan. But, it's just grating. Excuse me. And then there's, all the stuff with the Nice and McCoy is killed, but he's fine. And, there's damsels in distress. It's all a bit fine.
The night that his skin is like made out of plant stalks or something. I just always thought that was particularly weird. It's like, it's all squishy. That was kind of, I found it disturbing in a way.
It's a bit of a nothing burger of an episode. So, far from the worst, because I'll get into my controversial ones in a bit. As an episode for me, this would be a skip.
Mm-hmm. That's
all right.
Fair.
Skip on over, Peter. What do you got?
Okay. One for me is The Way to Eden.
Oh, me too. what else do you?
I don't have to say
say
I don't have much to say about this episode in the sense insofar as like it was
Crack
very
your knuckles and jump for
it
joy.
was very topical for its time, because there was a lot of that going on, but it hasn't aged particularly well. The hippie storyline is just bizarre.
Yeah.
And then it kind of leans into the cult thing where like everyone dies. So, it's got some poignant bits, I guess, where it's like,
except for Chekhov's hot girlfriend.
yeah. But outside of that, like it's got some things of like, don't fall into cults. That's a good thing. That's a good message.
This was going on at the same time as Manson. You know what I mean? Really, essentially.
And like there were cults and weird crap that was happening at the time. So like, it's not like this episode didn't have its place.
Right.
But it's just hard to watch. It's like the acting is really weird. That like, I mean, the musical number is just atrocious. It really is.
Charles Napier, who is a great character actor who was in everything up until his death a few years ago. Well, until he retired, but he passed away a few years ago. But had the great role of Bob and the Blues Brothers. I'm Bob, and this is my band. I don't know, this maybe, and just everything for Universal was in episodes of The Incredible Hulk.
Yeah,
I think he was in Star Trek later on as well, and something or other.
But but like, is it one of the worst episodes ever made? No, but it's one of those that I'm like, every time it comes on, it's like. Again, one of my criteria was watchability, and for me, this one is just like, again, like Cat's Paw, it's just kind of it comes on. I'm like, oh no, it's not one that I'm gonna like, trip over myself and hurt myself to get to the skip button, but it's still something I don't prefer to watch
unless you were trapped under a pile of tribbles. You'd flip the episode.
Yeah, probably. So it's
pretty much,
again, if you like it, fine, and it has its place for its time. It's just,
right?
Nah.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I'm going with mine. And I probably mentioned this before. Season 1's The Alternate Factor. I've watched this episode a half a dozen times over the years, and I have no idea what the hell is even going on in it. It's an alternate universe thing.
Neither do they.
Yeah,
I don't think
they're at Vasquez at one point, which I really enjoy. But it was the ultimate. Sean, you dropped the expression. It was the ultimate kind of nothing burger. Yeah. It had no impact. It didn't add anything to the franchise. Like, oh, this was the first episode they did blah blah blah, or you learned this thing about this character. And this is just like I think Robert Brown was the name of the guest star. That's the only other thing that I can remember. And I don't know. And he has a weird ship that looks like it fell off the back of the truck of the Lost in Space crew. It was like, or somebody, they borrowed it for a weekend or whatever it is. It just, I don't know anything about it. I probably read a plot summary right now, and it's still somehow it would just go whoop out of in one ear and out the other.
It's one of those ones as well where, like in God Love Poor Robert Brown, he was cast with like an hour's notice because
why don't you come on over? Okay, do.
There was another actor. Was it John Barrymore? I think was cast and then just didn't show up.
John Barrymore, like as in the father of Drew Barrymore?
The very same.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And then just didn't show up. And so Robert Brown, I think I probably have all the details wrong on this, but I think it was like filming something on the lot. And they were like,
he's filming Mission Impossible and just got dragged over.
Here, you
I
can
don't
have the
remember
same
if that's what
goatee.
it was, but yeah.
And didn't they keep changing his goatee? It was kind of short and it looked real. And then it was like they gave him some straw and stuck it to his face with some spirit gum.
Lazarus's, yeah, exactly.
Yes, there. Well, you've already. I didn't remember the name of the character. You've already told me more, and it's already gone. Where did it go? It's gone. Oh my God! All right, well let's segue back to the positives. So Sean, back to you. I think I'm doing a bad job. Is this round 3? Are we on round 3? I know we've had some crossover, so invariably we might end up only with 4 rounds. But we'll see what happens. But anyway, Sean, go for it.
Okay, well here's one that's probably good for Doomsday Machine.
Ah, yes.
I had it and dropped it.
I hadn't put it on my list
love
particularly, but it is yeah.
It's
up there. It's a great episode. It is, from Decker losing his mind after making some very interesting command choices. This thing is destroying planets. I will beam my entire crew
That'll be fine.
To project.
It's no big deal.
What's going to go
to a
wrong?
planet nearby, not a planet a solar system away. Like you have warp drive, go a little further if you're going to do that.
And then he really doesn't understand what happened. Oh, I can't believe, why did this happen to me?
It's that meme where it's, the fellow turns around and shoots the guy in the chair.
Yeah.
Like, why would the type machine do this? I mean, it's got obviously the iconic windsock design. The music is fantastic. It's genuinely tense. I mean, like, in the back of your head, Kirk's not going to get killed, but at the same time, you do feel that big countdown clock. You kind of feel for Decker, despite, yes, he made a terrible, terrible mistake, but then you also feel that weighing on him. So even as much as, I think I've read in interviews that William Wyndon had no idea what Star Trek was. He did, it was, which in fairness, in the early the mid 1960s, not that surprising. I mean, it's not like it was today. Everyone has kind of some idea of what Star Trek is, even if they just think it's this,
Yeah, right.
So he just went in and just said, right, I will play a deranged commander. Well, and we'll see how that goes.
How hard could it be? You could do it in any show. Yeah.
And it really comes across well. And you have the whole thing with McCoy and Spock arguing over how do we get him out of the chair? He outranks everyone on the ship.
Right.
And it's one of those episodes that it just goes as well for, the 50 odd minutes that it runs for, which sometimes, because TV was obviously made very different back then, not every episode of the original series has, the pacing maybe hasn't aged well in a lot of them, because it was just made very differently. But this one, I think it just from the jump, it goes, you get that, the image of the constellation beaten to all hell, which, again, I love, but makes me sound like a bit of a sadist by saying I love seeing that. It's like, we love our Enterprise.
It was pretty neat.
Damn it.
And it looked even that much more exciting when they revamped him for the 40th in 06, and they redid all the opticals. I thought that's how I choose to watch them. Yeah,
I
loved it.
That one particularly looks really good.
Wrong, but I think this episode introduces Scotty's little room, just off the engineering,
the control room,
main engineering, the little control room. I might be totally wrong with that.
Auxiliary. I think this might be the one that does introduce auxiliary control for the first time. So, because there was a time when I can't remember his name, but Naked Time, what's his face, locks himself in engineering.
O'Reilly.
O'Reilly.
Yeah. Riley O'Reilly?
Yeah. Who's just sings the one song over and over and over. It makes me want to kill him very much.
But it's an Irish ditty, right, Sean?
It's over and over and over again. It doesn't matter if it's good. It's just ad nauseum. But anyway, he was in main engineering. So I think, this was the first one where we actually see this room.
The side room. Cool. All right, Peter.
I'm going to go for one that also is probably fairly obvious. Mirror, Mirror.
Oh, it's on my list as well.
So this one is one that this is not the first time that Star Trek has dealt with alternate things, because City on the Edge of Forever does this, and
let's not forget the alternate factor.
Yeah, and the alternate factor. But this is the first one where we go to a separate universe.
Yes.
That is not ours with an altered timeline. This is a separate universe with different versions of the characters. So this episode is just really well written, because it's like you first beam in, and it's like you first open, you're in our universe, everything seems normal, and then all of a sudden it's like, wait, they're doing Nazi salutes, and technically they're Roman, but we're doing these salutes, and there's Spock has a beard, and oh no, they're killing people on the ship for just screwing up the transporter beam.
Right.
So I like how it immediately introduces the, oh no, everything's wrong. And then just uses it. I mean, as the one caveat, it's not subtle at all.
Yeah.
In terms of
true.
Because sometimes you're like, oh, well, it's subtly different from our world. No, it's not. It's absolutely opposite, which is why it's the mirror.
Or like McCoy says, I spilled acid there a year ago, which I thought was kind of like, why did you get a new table?
Yeah.
But and they had some great, really badly choreographed stunt play. I love it, where you the camera's way back here so they can have a fight scene, and it's not really Shatner and Nimoy fighting and stuff. But I love the wrap up. There was good kind of message in the end. One man can forge the future.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty great.
Yep.
The kind of downplay of the mirror universe is that it became Trope City.
But that's when you look later. Like this episode by itself.
When you hit Discovery, I don't love what they did with Mirror Universe. I love what they did in DS9. That was pretty great because you saw that what Spock did, which seemed great, was actually the exact opposite of what needed to happen because it resulted in the subjugation of the human race, which frankly, maybe they had it coming. So you know what? I'll equivocate on that. It did give us the iconic having a goatee is evil, which has been present in pop culture ever since and absolutely will be.
Yes.
So yeah, it was full, like you said, really well written, full of a lot of memorable bits. I love the agonizer. Your agonizer, please. Everybody needs one of those.
Yeah.
Somebody at work really starting to piss you off. Like, there you go.
Yeah, and they carry it on their belt, and you use your own agonizer to zap you, so it must be set for you.
It'd be like carrying your own taser and saying, okay.
Use your own personal pain threshold. Have fun.
I guess I deserved it. Awesome. Good deal. All right. Sean, we're back on the bad. We're starting to wind down. We're back on the bad.
Back on the bad. And the children shall lead.
That's on my list too.
Me too. This is gonna end right on time.
It's with all of the respect to the young boys and girls in this episode who are very nice young people who are trying their best.
Right. Oof. They're such kid actors.
Oh, good Lord, they are. And the stunt, it's a good example as to why stunt casting is not really a great idea, because I'm sure you both know the story of Melvin Belly very well, yeah?
No, as a matter of fact, educate, please. All I wrote is that he looked like he was an H&R Puff and Stuff villain. That's what I got for him. But otherwise, I don't know anything about him, so break it down.
Basically a TV lawyer.
Oh.
I mean, and that's it. So, with the greatest of respect, to the man, but that immediately dated the episode because from the jump, then kind of like people you wouldn't expect people today to know who that is, and because he's got such a large role in the epic, he is the big reveal. It's a bit like
the big bad.
Okay,
absolutely. There's a great parallel. Quick sidebar. Peter, think about what David Gerald told us about Roddenberry's lawyer during the first season of TNG. That guy could have been a great villain based on how Gerald described him. Holy crap. All right. Sorry. I had to slide that in before I forgot. But anyway, Sean, you were saying
100%. Yeah. And I mean, the whole, the shaking the fist thing and, even, our parents are dead. Lol. Okay, fine. And at the end of it,
right. Hashtag lols.
Yeah.
Hashtag not sad. Hashtag sad, not sad.
And so to me, look, the episode is, in a word, pants. There's not much watchable in it. What I will say is that the kid with the red hair, Craig Huxley, would grow up to invent the blaster beam, which became one of the most well-used instruments in Star Trek the Motion Picture. It's the boom sound, and it's used again in Wrath of Khan.
Really?
That guy, he invented that. So...
And of course, one of the other actors, the young African-American child, Phil Morris, who goes on to be...
I thought he was just in Miri.
No, that wasn't him. No, he was in this one. I don't think he was in Miri.
Oh, no, he is definitely in Miri with his sister.
Okay, because in two of Shatner's daughters are in Miri, of course, but we don't need to fall down the kids. But yeah, I'm almost sure. And Brian is it? His name is Brian. I'm going to say Takagi or Takashi is the young Asian kid who also grew up to be one of the Ninja Turtles in the 1990 movie and was a relief con officer in a season 4 episode of TNG.
Did not know that.
This was it. But yeah, I met Phil Morris at a show in Chicago a couple of years ago. What a nice guy.
Yeah.
Super nice guy.
Yeah, he is so nice. Yeah, I got to chat to him a couple of years ago. Lovely fella.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Absolutely. But yeah, wow, entertainment lawyer. So now I can do nothing but picture the Roddenberry lawyer that was demonized by David Gerald in our interview with him as a villain. I can't believe David never wrote a script like that. That could have shown up somewhere.
That would have been
pretty
funny.
Cool. Oh my gosh. All right. Well, Peter, what's a bad for you?
Okay, this one's going to be controversial.
Back up.
Let that be your last battlefield.
Interesting. Okay.
Fascinating.
Okay.
Too heavy-handed?
So my reasoning is not the messaging before everyone decides to grab your pitchforks and tar and everything.
I feel like we talked about this when we covered the
subtle?
episode
Was that
in
the
regular
problem?
show.
Yes, it was way too subtle.
Yeah.
It was subtle as dropping a 5-ton anvil on Wile E. Coyote's head.
Touche, darling.
So, my problem with this episode, obviously, is just it's too blatant and it's just too heavy-handed with what it's trying to do. And the writing is very clunky. Like, it's very clear what they're trying to do, and there's a lot of info dumping, and where you don't need it. It's sometimes you need to do show don't tell, and this episode could definitely use more of that. And like the violence between the two is just very campy, where they grab each other and zap each other. It's like, okay, we're doing a little bit of sci-fi, but it looks really corny. Like, I don't know, throw a punch, grab a gun, something, like mix it up. And then also, like, you're the last two of your people surviving. Like, I understand that this is supposed to be an extreme to make a point, but it's like, this is almost beyond stupid. In terms of, like,
riddle me this.
Yeah, it's like I am the last cop, and I'm chasing down the last dude who's different. We're the only two left, but by gosh, I don't have a government that's giving me any authority anymore, but I'm going to do my job. Last directive.
Right. He's a Terminator.
Yeah. And it's one of those things, like, I understand why. I agree with the message, but it's just so clunky, so heavy-handed. It is painful to watch. And for me, at least, this episode is often held up as the epitome of how Star Trek does social commentary. And if this is the pinnacle of Star Trek social commentary, we are sad, because this is not the way you want to do it. This is not the way that you get people to think about problems or get them to maybe change their opinion, because
there's not a lot of
thinking. It's the one side is right, and I'm going to preach, and everyone else is stinky doo-doo heads. And it's
everyone else is stinky doo-doo.
Yeah, and in this case, they are stinky doo-doo heads, but like, to do like a smarter episode that like shows like, because when Star Trek does this better, you show like these people are wrong, but maybe there was a reason that they came to this. Maybe there was a logical point that they got to this, or a cultural reason, or what have you. I may not agree with it. It may not be right. Sometimes it's just a difference of opinion. It's not actually like in the same sense of a moral problem. But like, when you're able to show those two different sides more on equal footing, or as equal as you can get, so you're not straw manning or steel manning to an extent, it's better. And this one just like complete straw man. It's just, and in a sense, rightfully so, but it's not well done. And then because it's held up so much as like the best when it isn't, we get other episodes that I have very much dunked on in later Star Trek that follow the same kind of thing. And for anyone who's like, oh, Peter, you do, like, I dunk on TNG, Voyager, anybody who follows the trope that comes from this episode, I dunk on. I am an equal opportunity offender. I don't just dunk on newer episodes. So yeah,
fair. All right. Well, I'm going to wrap up my bad episodes with the whimper heard round the whimper, and that would of course be Turnabout and True. Where would the series ended.
That was a bonus for me.
Yeah, exactly. The series ended as we knew it would, but in the pantheon of TV history, you got your outdated notions and your big message of sexism. When Captain Kirk switches places with a woman, he just totally falls apart because a woman can't. It was just and I know that there is a lot more behind this. But the fingerprints of all of the things that were wrong with the era, as far as the writing goes, and trying to create, and this message that sexism is new and improved in the 23rd century, more so than anything we could ever hope for now, is just, and to think that this is the end of the show, is painful to me. Very much so.
Like the one thing that I will say in defense, Shatner's great.
Oh, he does a great job.
Agreed.
Like Shatner's
Agreed.
great, playing Janice Lester, playing Kirk. That like
also the actress who I can't remember her name for some reason, but the actress for Lester also does a really, really good impersonation of William Shatner. Like the two of them do a really, really good job.
But yeah, I think there ends the compliments.
Yeah,
for this.
there endeth the
that is all that
compliment.
is good, pretty much.
Oh my God! All right, we got room for one more good. If anybody has one left,
I do.
I have one. Okay. Well, Sean, you.
Balance of Terror.
Yep.
Yeah. Yes, me too.
There we go.
Oh, do we all have the same one?
Do we all three of us?
Yep.
Oh my God! Then we can end this on a the Lions form Voltron here. We got it.
Then we're all on the same page. I mean, what is there to be said about Balance of Terror? They did everything. Funny enough, I think they did in Balance of Terror better what Let That Be Your Last Battlefield was trying to do with the bigotry comment. I think.
Right. Agreed.
Yeah.
Right. Heroes on both sides. Kind of the blatant message from
and
the
villains
credits
on
of
both sides.
episode 3. Right, exactly. Yeah, because you have your racist, and I'm going to forget the guy's name, but the guy who's making cracks at Spock once. Yes, Spock. Styles. Yeah, total. Yeah, I wonder, was he related to the captain of the Excelsior? I wonder, because they were both assholes. Maybe that was his
canonically.
nephew?
There's no relation, but it's unclear.
Yeah,
sure. Why not? It could fit. They were both dicks.
100%.
But yeah, I mean, the closing line, and of course you get Mark Leonard, who he grew up in South Haven, Michigan, which is my mom's hometown. So little fact I didn't know until recent years, though he's from Chicago originally. That's a great town. If you ever make it to our shore, Sean, I will take you there. Beautiful view of Lake Michigan, which is the greatest freshwater body in the world, in my opinion. Obviously very biased, but his closing line is that in another universe I could have called you friend. Mm-hmm. Shows you that why were the Romulans doing what they were doing? We don't know. We don't really find out. But even he speaking to his centurion, his sideman, saying, they want another war, and they can't afford another war. But that's really what they want. They want to be out there to be private. I don't agree with what I'm doing, but I am a loyal soldier, and I'm going to die for it. Yep. Because at the end of it, he has a chance to surrender. And he says, Romulans don't do that. I'm going to blow myself up. It's too bad. I think you're really cool, dude. We could have been homeboys by click, kaboom.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Like, I think it deals. The only thing I still, 60 years later, I'm just like, I mean, they really shouldn't have had access to the cameras on that ship, but sure, listen, it gives us the dramatic reveal, so...
Yeah. Yes, and I love it, and this is a Star Trek Across, how you get access, but you can also zoom in real close, so you can see someone go, and then same thing with Spock, you zoom in and he goes, and now I can't do my eyebrows now. There you go. That's what I'm trying to do.
There's. I mean, it sounds bad when I say it. There's funny bits. It opens up with a wedding, so you're going right. Which one of them dies? I got a picture of my honey in my wallet, and we retire tomorrow, and I bought a boat called the Live Forever.
Yeah,
you're dead. You are.
Yeah,
dead.
It's the buddy
member who dies is Tomlin.
Yeah. That's what I got to call my buddy cop speech, where you're like, oh, everything's going to be great from here on out.
I retire next week. Well, you're dead in 5 minutes.
Yeah. I'm too old for this shit. Yeah, absolutely.
One thing we agree, you won't be working on this ship very soon from now. No, I mean,
right.
We can make just because it's such a good episode. Mark Leonard is brilliant. And, just like the remake, which is in Strange New Worlds, which I like. I think the one thing they took the step too far was having the Romulan commander say the line to Pike in another universe. That was, but otherwise I'm like, no, I totally get why this is the story you revisit.
Right.
And I still think that the switching styles for Ortegas didn't work, but
I would agree. I would agree.
You put a little wrinkle in her character that didn't stack. Yeah, I agree with you.
And then, in a way, Styles was kind of bang on the money. I mean, sure, it looks like the ship explodes, and then Romulan commander turns up the following year. Sarek sounds like a real name.
He should have just put a mustache on him too.
Actually, yeah. Hello. No, I love this episode. I watched it again yesterday. I watched it with my nephew. He's kind of working through Star Trek for the first time. And I thought, I want to show him the original series, but you kind of want to show like it's going to be a good episode first.
Yeah,
right.
You know what I mean? So
you don't want to start with cat's paw, yeah.
Yeah, no, or of course, yes. Spock's brain. Let's just start at season 3 or work our way backwards.
Split the death. We'll start with all our yesterdays. So
yeah.
it's actually funny enough. This is like such a tangent, but when we were on the cruise, like they have the channels that just like show Star Trek on a loop.
Oh yeah.
And we got to the original series one, and it was started with the Savage Curtain, which I enjoy.
I enjoy, but I've seen it too many. Every time I turned on the TV was Savage Curtain, so for me, I'm a little burned out on it.
Fair.
Like the guy, because he's made a molten rock. He burned you out.
And then I went into all our yesterdays, and I'm just like, it's fine. You know, it was just one of those episodes. I hadn't watched it forever, and I'm like, know, Mr. Atos, Mr. A to Z. Do you get it?
A to Z. I never got that until Ben Stiller did that in a bit once on one of his shows, and I was like,
I got the joke. I learned the joke before I saw the episode because I had the encyclopedia and it had the little notes from the Okudas.
Oh my god!
And it was like, he's Mr. A to Z, haha. And I was like, oh, but I didn't know what it sounded like. So to me, I was like, Mr. A to Z, cool. And then I watched the episode, Atos. Okay, that tracks.
Oh, that's humor. That's not funny. Oh my god. All right. This has been awesome. I'm glad that we ended up coming up with this segment, and I'm glad that Sean launched it with us because Sean, you, as always, you bring things to the table that I think nobody else does. So thank you for being here. Where do people find you out there in the blogosphere, internet land?
Thank you very much. You can find me on TrekCulture. We have videos often, I won't say every day, but often on YouTube. We're on all of the socials. We're at TrekCulture, TrekCulture YT. You can find me at Sean Ferrick. I'm on pretty much all the socials as well. I am not on X because I'm not a Nazi. Just get into... All right, I'm aware that some people on X are not Nazis before people think I'm calling everyone Nazi.
I know. That's why I got off too.
Yeah. So, but yeah, just reach out. Let's have a laugh. Let's talk about Star Trek. Let's try and keep some positivity going when we know why. We know why.
Yeah, indeed we do. Peter, what about you?
You can find me on most social media with @Petrus Aquinas. I'm not active on most of anything, but if you poke at me and like say, I hate that you hate, let that be your last battlefield, I might respond. Maybe.
Let's talk about that.
So you can also find me on our Discord and on ELH's Twitch and YouTube channel where we play Star Trek Adventures and behind the scenes on Starship Excelsior.
Excellent. And I am in charge of all of our Secret Friends Unite socials. You can find us on all those places, including YouTube, where I just posted a unboxing of all these awesome, you can't see them behind me, but all of these awesome Wave 1 nacelle action figures, which visit the nacelle website and buy those now because they're absolutely spectacular. But also, personally, I am at all the socials as at the C3 THET. Oh my God. Oh, you know how it's spelled. I'm having a moment. But anyway, you can find me there. And again, you will over on our YouTube channel, you get audio clips, obviously, of our episodes, but you do see all of our great interviews from our Spotlight segment where we talk to creatives, including some very cool ones coming up. But with that, we will see you next time. I'm going to tell you, as always, that sharing is caring and to keep on trucking.
Peace and long life.
Nadu.
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and podcast services around the galaxy, as well as video on our YouTube channel. You can support Secret Friends Unite by becoming a Patreon member, get bonus programs and more over at patreon.com/secretfriendsunite. Join our Discord community for even more discussions on all things geek. For all the latest updates on Secret Friends Unite, make sure to follow us on Threads at secret.friends.unite and visit secretfriendsunite.com. Find our merchandise at TeePublic and Redbubble. Thanks for listening, and may the Force live long and prosper.